destroyed the economy and the environment. That's the other small thing.
Some would call history in the making.
Don't say that.
We have never been down 1,000 points ever, not even intraday on the NASDAQ.
Is that true?
That is true.
Okay. Down 6% right from the get-go. This is heavy big tech. Here we go. Look at them go down. Microsoft is down $20. That's 5%. Alphabet, 5%. Meta, 6%. Amazon, 6%. Apple, 9% down. Let's pull out Apple. This is interesting.
Could an economic recession doom Kamala Harris before the 2024 election? The data from both the opinion polls and, of course, the stock market and the economy itself is saying yes. We'll tell you all about it in today's video, folks. If you enjoy the content, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. But long story short, the context first. If you've not checked your stock portfolio for the past couple days, first of all, you probably should. And secondly, Biden is no longer able to fake his economic numbers and prosperity, because the timeline here is that last week a devastatingly bad jobs report came out. I believe unemployment rose to about 4%, and in response we saw a gigantic stock market crash for the past couple of days. You see some of the indicators here. According to CNN Business, fear is driving the US market at a margin of 27. You just see the numbers. Every major stock right now is in the red, and as you heard there in the opening, 1,000 points down immediately on Monday morning in the NASDAQ. That is the biggest single drop ever. So welcome, of course, to Bidenomics, folks. But it goes without saying that these are all the early signs of a recession, and it's bigger than the stock market, obviously, because this is impacting the real world as well. For instance, this was announced yesterday. Dell Technologies is reportedly to lay off as many as 12,500 workers per SiliconANGLE, and for context, that is about 10% of their workforce, and it's all just getting started, right? The economic bloodbath that is about to ensue is simply just kicking off. But of course, we don't talk about markets on this channel. We talk about politics. And while I certainly don't root for a recession, let's also understand the political reality of this, which is Biden and Harris are no longer able to fake having a strong economy, because nobody really believed that the economy was doing well. But the one thing that Kamala Harris had was, look, under Biden, the numbers are good for the economy, right? Unemployment is low. The stock market is doing well. Never mind the fact that inflation is completely out of control. Nobody can afford anything. Nobody can buy a house, etc. But look at the numbers on the chart. The GDP is doing well. Well, that bubble that they were faking has just absolutely burst, because now that is no longer true, and the economy, by definition, may be headed to a recession very soon. And this is, by the way, exactly what happens when you try to fake a good economy for so long. You can only pretend for so long before the amount of stimulus money you put into the economy, all these shell companies that are operating at a loss but they're being propped up, etc., just comes back to bite you. And that is exactly what is happening right now, and that is why it is translating to a devastating poll we saw for Kamala Harris that came out yesterday in reaction to the jobs report, to the stock market crash, etc. Because this is from Fox News. Check this out. The Trump advantage over Kamala Harris on the economy. So this is basically an opinion poll that asked the voter, who do you trust more on the economy, Trump or Kamala? And this is in the key swing states in the Rust Belt. Check this out right here. Trump has a lead of 31 points. You want to talk about an economic bloodbath? Well, figuratively and metaphorically speaking, of course, this is a political bloodbath. 31 points in Michigan. Trump leads on the economy. 31 in Pennsylvania, and 38 in the state of Wisconsin. That is exactly what is happening. Trump has already had the lead on the economy in general, but it's been about like 10 points, 9 points maybe. Now it's increasing to 30, and you're in a situation where if the recession does start to hit before November, this is something that's going to be at the top of voters' minds, right? The economy is going to be that more present and cognizant in their voting decision than if it was just, inflation's kind of bad. And that's the situation we're in. So while Kamala Harris tries to continue to fake and astroturf her entire candidacy, this is the reality she is facing, which is she may have to try to win as the incumbent party and the incumbent VP on an election year where we are actively an economy in recession, and it's pretty common sense that usually does not end well. And this is why people like David Axelrod, who is far from a Republican, right? This is a former senior advisor to President Obama, recently went on CNN to explain that actually a lot of the hype and polls around Kamala Harris are largely fake and superficial. Check it out.
Thought they had this race under control. It is much more of a contest now.
Yeah, and look, she has a lot of momentum, but if you do look at the polling, this is still a really tight race. This is going to be a hard fight for either side, a tough, based on the numbers we're seeing right now.
100%. Look, I mean, anyone, there's a lot of irrational exuberance on the side of on the Democratic side of the aisle right now because there was despair for some period of time about what the November was going to look like. Now people feel like there's a chance, but it is absolutely Trump's race to lose right now. He is ahead, and he is ahead most of the battleground states. They're close. They could be won by either candidate, but there is a lot to be determined in the next 90 whatever days, 96 or whatever it is left. Yeah, I think it's a wide open race, but Trump has the advantage right now, and everybody should be sober about that on the Democratic side.
So it sounds like what he's saying is a lot of the hype around Kamala Harris is kind of fake, much like the economy that we did it Joe Bidenomics has been selling us for the past 4 years. And now, again, they're not even able to do that. I will close the video with pointing out this, which is the guaranteed loss rule. And this is an electoral model that has never been wrong in the history of American politics. And it essentially states that if the misery index, which is unemployment and inflation, rises and GDP growth slows down in the final year of a president's term, that party loses the White House every single time. And so if all three of these things are true, Kamala Harris, at least by the entire history of the United States, is guaranteed to lose the White House. So let's break that down. Firstly, unemployment. We saw the jobs report this week. It has already rose. So check number one. Now, with that said, if an inflation ensues, which seems like it's pretty likely to happen, frankly, inflation likely also to rise, and GDP growth, of course, by the definition of a recession, that will be slowing down as well. So we'll have to see what happens. And again, I'm not rooting for this actively to take place, but if we understand that, hey, this is kind of what was going to happen with all the fake economic growth for the past couple years, then maybe it is true that it could largely doom Kamala in the 2024 election. And it's kind of ironic to think about, in some ways, how the Democrats just cannot avoid disaster. Because when you look at when they replaced Biden at the time that they did, why did they do it? Because they were hoping to erase all of the hype and momentum and things that were favorable for Trump. Because let's remember the timeline here. You had the June 27th debate. You had the assassination attempt that greatly bumped Trump's popularity. And then, of course, you had the RNC. The Trump train was riding on insane amounts of momentum. And so they hoped by replacing Kamala Harris, okay, we can stop that momentum and we can erase memory of all those prior things, and there'll be way less liability going into November. And then 2 weeks into her candidacy, what happens? The stock market crashes and the economy seems like it's about to plunge into recession. Again, they cannot avoid disaster, largely because they are the party of disaster. And so it's kind of fitting in some ways from a cynical perspective, isn't it, folks? That said, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.